Hi Vusi, it's Zakia. I was very pleasantly surprised to hear my voice just before the podcast. Slight correction, it's Zakia with a Z. It's an Arabic name and it means chaste. Not sure what my parents were doing. In fact, the story of how I was named is boring. My uncle named me and I think it's because he liked a girl with the same name. Having said that, I'm very excited to hear that you are doing work to disrupt the insurance industry. It's actually my area of expertise. I'm a fully qualified principal and KI and was in the industry for over 12 years. But I chose not to pursue my career any further because I can't work in a broken system with broken products. If there is any way I can get involved, I would love to get in touch with you. On today's podcast, I see you right back, Vusi.
It's time to take your seat at the table. Find out how with Vusi Thembekwayo as we discuss ideas that matter. A catalyst for bold action.
War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. How? Zakia, how do you send a message after the message you sent starting at so what's happening in this country? You just send a message just to start a fight. It's my podcast, not our podcast. You're not a shareholder here. You don't have PE shares here, Zakia. Respect yourself, please. I'm just kidding, Zakia. Still lovely name. Thank you so much, Zakia, for that message. And by the way, yes, I would love to talk to you a bit about what we're doing in the fintech space and an opportunity for us to do something. So the fact that you're a KI is fantastic. Let's have a conversation. I wonder if you would email me, Zakia, because that's going to be the only way to do it. Send me an email. I'm going to shout out my email, and of course, invariably what will happen is there'll be 100 other emails from people who are not you, but I'm hoping that you'll email me, Zakia. So email me on vusi@vusi.co.za. Tell me it's you, and let's have a conversation. I'd love for us to meet and to chat a little bit about what we can do, certainly what I'm doing, and where I think there is an opportunity for us to do something, Zakia. So thank you so much for that. Let's start this properly. And 3, 2, 1. Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of the VT podcast. And here we talk about ideas that matter. I'm so excited to join you here again today to bring to you kind of the thoughts that I've been having and to try and raise a little bit your sights about the things that we talk about and the things that we do on an everyday basis. The purpose, for those of you who join us for the first time, welcome to the family. But the purpose of the VT podcast is to have elevating conversations. The reason we host the VT podcast is because we challenge the way we think and the way we see the world. The idea is that we want to leave the world a better place than we found it by becoming better people ourselves. That's the idea of the VT podcast. This is not a place of denigrating people or discussing people or gossiping or being controversial or tackling politics or any of these things. There are plenty other platforms for this. This here is a space of elevation. It's the place you come to fresh on a Monday morning to start your week and feel a bit better, to think about the world in a different way, to be inspired to do things differently. That's what we do here at the VT podcast. I wanted to say thank you so much to all of you that signed up for the VT Club 100. We said we're hosting this VT Club 100 with 100 people in the club, and we had 18,000 applications. Just unbelievable. And you know the craziest thing? 18,000 applications, and less than 30% of them were from my home country of South Africa. Less than 30%. The overwhelming majority, actually, just over 32%, came kind of from 3 countries across Africa. And then, the next kind of largest population group were the United States and the United Kingdom, with a smidge of some from Asia. And I wanted to say to each and every single one of you that sent through your application to become part of the VT Club 100. As you know, it is a paid club, so it's not a free platform. It's paid for. But I wanted to say to each and every single one of you that sent through your application, thank you so much. The team, as we speak, is assessing the applications and we'll be in touch shortly. All of you should have by now received an email, a personalized email from me saying, I've got your application, I've got your information, we're looking at it. And so expect us to make announcements in the next week or so. I'm very excited about this new journey, the VT Club 100. In addition to this, I can tell you that there's an awful lot of things that are happening. In particular, for our venture fund, we announced a partnership with the KIFC and Rwanda Finance. That's out there. You can go and find out about it all over in the media. Just Google that, Vusi, Thembekwayo, Rwanda Finance, and it'll pop up with all the results about what we're doing. I spoke about it at the podcast a week or two ago, where I was talking a bit about my journey next in the game of this world of technology and financial services and kind of the interplay between these two, right? So I just wanted to share with you that we're making real meaningful progress in that, and expect me to make some announcements soon. It's an interesting space I'm at the moment, isn't it? Where, there's people around me who do things like risk and governance. And so often before we announce things, they've got to approve it first. They've got to read through the verbiage. Like, okay, so what are we going to say exactly? Because I also often say to my own team, we announce what we've done, not what we're doing. And so it's very important. Sometimes I'll be quiet for a really long time. It's not because we're not working, but it's because I want to build into us this culture. And I think all of us need to learn this culture of, as Pearl Tusi says, let the announcement announce itself, right? Announce what you've done, not what you're doing. This week, I wanted to talk to you about the spirit of money. The spirit of money. As we speak, the Federal Reserve is printing money. Printing it. Now, there's some of you listening to this going, well, Vusi, I'm not sure about that because they're tapering off quantitative easing in the world at the moment. And in addition to this, it's in part because of what you're seeing in the United States with the inflation picture. I think it's at what has been the highest levels of inflation over the past 8 years, there or thereabout. And you're also seeing a pullback in some of the stocks that had a massive rally and a run in the recent past because there was so much liquidity in capital markets, in part, but not fully, because of the Federal Reserve printing all this money. But the point is that in the world today, there is a shortage of many things. There is a shortage of land. There is a shortage of water. There is a diminishing supply of clean air, just because of the nature of our world, this hydrocarbon energy that we use, this fossil fuel burning that fuels our industries and fuels our energy supply, and how it pollutes the world. There is a diminishing supply of clean, good quality air. But the one thing there isn't a shortage of is money. There isn't a shortage of money. And so, if you're listening to this conversation, and you don't have any money, I'm going to ask a very uncomfortable question. If the world is flush with money and you don't have it, where exactly is the problem? The reason this is an uncomfortable question is because I think for the overwhelming majority of us, we love to outsource our responsibility when it comes to our relationship with money. So we'll say things like, well, I don't have money because they don't pay me enough at work. Or, I don't have money because my business is not doing well. I don't have money because they don't pay me enough at work. But you accepted the job knowing what you were going to get paid. I don't have money because my business is not doing well, but your competitors are servicing the customers who could be yours. And so the question is a responsibility question, which is, if there is an oversupply of cash in the world and you don't have any, where exactly is the problem? A confession. I ask this question because I myself had to ask and answer this question for myself. Every single person has a burn rate, the rate at which you burn money based on your living standards, your expenses, your exposure to various asset classes that require capital to function, operate, and continue to be in your dominion of ownership, right? So my burn rate is very, very high. Could you imagine? Like, I live in Dubai, I'm in South Africa, I'm all over the world, I'm flying everywhere, I've got businesses all over the place, I'm hiring and firing people. It's, there's a lot going on. So my burn rate is higher than the average 36-year-old who has a professional job working in an investment bank somewhere. And so, because my burn rate is high, that means that the rate at which I generate cash has to be exceptionally high. And sometimes, because all cash-generating things are seasonal, sometimes we're in low tide where the rate at which I'm generating cash is not the same as the rate at which I'm burning this cash. And one of the questions I find myself asking at that time is, as there is a disconnect in the continuum of value that I'm adding with the value that I'm extracting, where exactly is the problem? If there is an oversupply of cash and I don't have any, where's the problem? Now, this podcast is called The Spirit of Money because I've had an epiphany. I'd like to share it with you. The epiphany is this. Money is not an inanimate thing. It's not a vase with a fake cactus that's sitting on next to your bed somewhere. Money has a spirit. It has an agenda. Money moves things. It changes things. Sometimes the people who want to own it end up being owned by it. Money has a spirit. And the revelation that I've had is this, that actually the money you want to access and unlock in your life is attached to you being in alignment with the spirit for which you have been put on earth. If you remember in Kanye West's iconic song, Never Let You Down, he features the poet J. Ivy. For those of you who've not heard the song, it's a beautiful masterpiece. It really is quintessential, yay. When it comes to being one thing I found, I know you never let me down. Get up, I get down. Beautiful, beautiful song. But there is, in J. Ivy's lyrics, something that really caught me every time I listen to that song. It says, and I quote J. Ivy, he says, "We're all here for a reason on a particular path. You don't need a curriculum to know that you're a part of the math. Cats think I'm delirious, but I'm so damn serious. That's why I expose my soul to the globe, the world. I'm trying to make it better for these little boys and girls. I'm not just another individual. My spirit is a part of this. That's why I get spiritual." Then he says, "But I get my hymns from him. So it's not me, it's he that's lyrical. I'm not a miracle. I'm a heaven-sent instrument." Isn't that such a beautiful idea? This idea that he doesn't get his hymns from himself, but they come from a greater source. But he says it's spiritual. What is he actually talking about? He's saying that the currency that you are valuing me for, this thing that I'm adding to the world, is not just of myself, but it's from a greater source. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe in, but the idea and the concept for this week is actually very simple. Here's the question I'm asking you. Are you in alignment with your task and your purpose in this earth? Are you in alignment? Are you acting in alignment? Do you know where your talents, your skills lie? Do you know what your mission on this little rock called earth is? And are you in alignment with that? A lot of us are chasing blessings in paths that we shouldn't be. You're watching Vusi Thembekwayo being paid $100,000 for a keynote and going, that's what I want to do, but that's not where you've been called to be. That's not your role. That's not your place. It's not your space. It's not where you should be. It would be like me trying to, compete with Jeremy Clarkson in reviewing cars. It's his space. Now, it's not to say I couldn't compete competently, but it is to say that if I really want to unlock that level 1 of blessing, the level of blessing where you make money Mayweather money, that level of blessing only happens when you are in alignment. In alignment. Because the spirit of money is such that money will flow to those who are aligned with themselves and the value they add to the world. Money will flow to them. We established earlier on that there is sufficient money in the world. So the question is, if you don't have it, then to whom is this money flowing? Now, there are some of you who will listen to this and say, well, even actually is white monopoly capital. I'm not here to have a political debate about the instruments of economics or power or owning the means of production. That's not what we do here. I'm talking here about a personal conversation that you have with yourself. Are you adding value? Are you in alignment? Are you doing the thing for which you were brought to this earth to do? Or are you just living, existing, collecting paycheck and paycheck and paycheck, and hoping that someday it'll all come to some semblance of meaning? J. Ivy closes off and he says, "And when these words are found, let it be known that God's penmanship has been signed in the language called love. That's why my breath is felt by the deaf, and my words are heard and confined to the ears of the blind." Listen to what he says next. He says, "I too dream in color and in rhyme. So I guess I'm one of a kind in a full house, 'cause whenever I open my heart, my soul, or my mouth, a touch of God rains out." When you are in alignment, every step you take and every movement you make, every encounter, every handshake, every meeting, every boardroom, every presentation, every laugh, every chuckle, every phone call, every cold call, every contract, every sale, every meeting, opportune or not, planned or not, scheduled or not, fortuitous or not, is a touch of God raining out into the world. I think our Creator asks of us not to come to earth and amass wealth, although, to be completely frank with you, I like money. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't even gonna front with y'all. Like, I tell y'all right now, I like money. I ain't even gonna front. I like money. I like being comfortable. I fly first class and everything, and I only stay in the best hotels because that's how I'm set up, girl. That's how I'm set up. I'm a V12 addict. I don't drive it if it ain't a V12 now. That's how my life's set up. That's how I'm set up. But all of these things are the consequence of, not the input to. They're the consequence of, and here's what I would like for you to do. This is your homework for the week. I think of all the things I've ever asked people to do on the podcast, this might be the one that's the toughest. Here's what I'd like you to do. Surrender. Let go. You're trying too hard. You're fighting too much. You're trying too hard to be who you're not, convinced that that's who the world wants you to be, completely unaware that even the facade you're wearing, neither you nor the people for who you are playing that character believe you, because you're just not that good an actor. Everybody knows you're putting on a facade. They know you're lying. You can play any character in the world, including yourself. So why don't you play the one none of us can replicate? Why don't you play you? Why not that one? So I'd like you this week to surrender. There are some listening to this conversation who suffer from a deep sense of inadequacy, who have deep insecurities. You don't believe you are worthy. You think that the things you read about in the papers and in the gossip columns is a life intended only for others, but never you. I came to tell you here today, I said that like Priscilla Shire would, I came to tell you here today that that life is for you too. The reason you have the desire is because the God you praise has put it in your heart to desire a life of meaning, to desire a life of reach, a life of impact. And I came to tell you here today that that little voice you hear in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that says you shouldn't be in that room, that asks you who the hell do you think you are, that voice is a liar. That voice is the enemy. And you need to learn to tell that voice to shut the up. This is our moment. This is our season. We survived 2020 and 2021 to come into this season. And if there is one thing we are not fitting to do, on this VT podcast is to be mediocre and take things as they come. And so, friends, family, join me this week as I ask you all to do just one thing. Let go. Surrender. Surrender to the will of your Creator. Surrender to the talents and gifts that you've been given. Surrender to the passions that fuel your heart. And surrender to the ideas that make your eyes sparkle. Surrender. And once you surrender and you are in alignment, the spirit of money will find you. I would love to get your thoughts on this podcast, because I think of all the podcasts we've done, this might just be the one that's probably the most out there. Thank you so much, family and friends, for joining us on the VT podcast again this week. From me, Vusi Thembekwayo, and our family, sayonara.
We hope that you've drawn valuable lessons from this week's podcast. To partner with us, visit mygrowthfund.co.za or email info@mygrowthfund.co.za.